Welcome, everybody. Hi, I'm Keith Vitale, and welcome to Psyche Podcast. Today, I want to tell you about a film studio that put their trust into stars that made Kung Fu cinema change forever. I'm talking about Golden Harvest out of Hong Kong. Of course, movie fans all over the world are very familiar with the stars, where their careers were launched into the stratosphere. All of them became legends working with under Golden Harvest. I'm talking about the great Bruce Lee to start off with, Jet Li, and then, of course, the three dragons, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yong Bao, all three talented martial artists. Now, Golden Harvest was founded by two gentlemen, Raymond Chow and Leonard Ho. Now, both of these guys were working for the famed Shaw brothers at the time in Hong Kong. In 1970, they decided to leave and start their own production company, Golden Harvest, with a whole new way of producing films. And here is what they decided to do. It was a gamble. Let's pay the stars more money, and two, let's give them more creative control. Well, that was a gamble, but it paid off. Their first movie was called The Big Boss, starring Bruce Lee. It was a major hit. Now, they spent about $100,000 producing this film, but it grossed about $50 million, which is about $400 million in today's dollar. So it was a gigantic gamble, but it paid off. So next, they used Bruce Lee again, and he starred him in a movie called Fist of Fury, aka Chinese Connection. And it was a gigantic hit again. So now they were on a great path. So they decided to do another movie starring Bruce Lee. It's called Way of the Dragon. But this time, they brought in an American actor named Chuck Norris to play as the villain and going up against Bruce Lee, and it worked. It was a tremendous hit. But it was their next film where they hit the bonanza. It was their next film that put their mark on history. It was called Enter the Dragon. Now, what they did was they teamed up with Warner Brothers, and they brought in other American actors like John Saxon and Jim Kelly. And this movie was a tremendous hit. It grossed about $2 billion up to this date, and it's still the greatest grossing movie of all time for martial arts movies. But let me give you more of the history or context about Bruce Lee's impact on the world. Now, I was a young man, and I went to the movie theaters to see Enter the Dragon. I was in a long line, like millions of others around the world. My line was wrapped around the entire street, around the whole block, waiting to get in to see this film. That's how big this movie was. And it was such a success that let me give you another perspective. Bruce Lee is compared to Muhammad Ali and probably the Beatles, Elvis Presley about name recognition around the world. But he did something else for America. He did something else for the whole world. He had like a just resurgence in martial arts training, and schools opened up all over, just not all here in America, but all over the world. And more importantly, he inspired a lot of people to get involved in the martial arts, including myself. That changed my whole path in life. So I credit Bruce Lee and thank Bruce Lee. And that's the impact he had on not just myself, but millions around the world. Now, after Bruce Lee died, it was a sad time when he died because I don't even believe he got to see Enter the Dragon, which is just a sad thing to think about. But Golden Harvest continued to make movies. And so they did a bunch of movies with the Wee brothers. And then they decided to go with Robert Klaus again. Now, Robert Klaus is the director for Enter the Dragon. So they teamed up with him again, and they did a movie called The Big Brawl. And it was a pretty big success. And I like this film because I have a personal connection to Robert Klaus because I did my first film with Robert Klaus in a movie called Force 5 that starred Joe Louis. Now, in 1995, Golden Harvest produced a movie called Rumble in the Bronx. Now, this was a key movie for Golden Harvest. So let me tell you why. Normally, these Golden Harvest movies were Hong Kong movies coming to the United States. But here they decided to make an Americanized movie starring Jackie Chan. So this is the first movie for Jackie Chan to really introduce himself to the world. And boy, did he do it. But here's a side note. It was a huge success. Um, but I spent time with Jackie Chan making a movie called Wheels on Mills. And when I would sit down to talk with him, I let him know that I really enjoyed this film, but he did. And I asked him why. It was a big success, it was a hit. And he said they Americanized it so much with his dress, his attire, that it was a big turnoff to the Hong Kong audience. So I always thought that was kind of a different observation for such a successful film. The Golden Harvest, along with another company called Cecil Films that Keith Strandberg writes and produces for, these two companies were responsible for bringing the Hong Kong style of fighting to the American audience. So that was pretty interesting as well. Next, Golden Harvest started producing films with other stars, martial arts stars like Jet Li. And once upon a time in China, it was a big hit. And they also moved to America and they made a film called China O'Brien that was a big hit. And this movie starred two American stars, Cynthia Rothrock as well as Keith Cook. Now, I've had the honor of working with both of them in a film, and they are just tremendous martial artists and film stars. So this film was a big hit. But what the difference of this film was, it was them, Golden Harvest, along with Seasonal Films, another Hong Kong company that Keith Strandberg wrote and produced for, that were responsible for bringing the Hong Kong style of fighting to the films here in America, which really changed all the way we started shooting films here. So next, Golden Harvest decided to use Yong Bao again. Now, Yong Bao was one of the guys that they used as a double, believe it or not, for Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. Yong Bao was so fantastic, he could do anything. But all these stars like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee, they all had doubles. So they starred Yong Bao in this movie called The Prodigal Son, and it was a big hit. So they decided to make another movie. Now, this one I enjoy a lot because it's called Wheels on Mills. Now, I happen to co-star with a guy named Benny Urquidez with the Three Dragons, Sammo Hung, Yong Bao, and of course, the great Jackie Chan. This film became one of the biggest hits. And let me tell you why. Because it had one of the most dynamic ending fight scenes in martial arts history. And it kind of still to this day, most people consider the end fight scene with Benny Urquidez and Jackie Chan as one of the best ending fight scenes of all time. Now, I take pride in the fact that hopefully my fight scenes with Sammo Hung in the movie, and especially my ending fight scenes with the great Yong Bao, added to the success of the film. So I'm very honored to be part of that film. Now, next, Golden Harvest moved on and started producing other films. So let me read some of these films out. One was called Millionaire Express, Project A, and they used a lot of the same actors, Richard Norton, Cynthia Rothrock, a lot of the same American actors, and they had some success with it. One of the reasons that the success of the Jackie Chan films was that these three guys all developed their skills from the Peking Opera School. Now, I was very fortunate to be able to spend some time with all three of them and sit down and listen to their stories about their memories when they all led in the school. Now, remember, the parents sent them to school for about 10 years. They were trained in this really harsh reality, this training where not only did they learn martial arts, but they learned how to draw and paint and sing and dance. And it was an entertainment school, but it was a very harsh school. And Jackie told me that school's been banned because it was just too harsh. But it was always entertaining for me to sit down and listen to them go back and forth. And sometimes they'd be frustrated about the memories they shared at the school. Jackie would talk about how harsh Sammo Hung, who was his big brother, treated him. And yet at the same time, Bao would tell me stories how harsh Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung treated him because they were both his big brothers. What a great time in history to be able to sit down and listen to these fantastic stories. Now, one of the reasons of success for Jackie Chan is the fact that he put together a stunt team. It's called the Jackie Chan Stunt Team. And to this day, it's still active. But what it did was it kept all of his fight scenes very consistent, his action and how it's choreographed, because he used the same stunt team from movie to movie like that. Let me tell you some of the movies that they made together. They made Project A and 1 and 2. They did a Lucky Stars trilogy, Lady Kung Fu. They did movies like Police Story, Super Cop, and Mr. Nice Guy. And again, if you ever have the chance, check out Cynthia Rothrock, and especially as well Richard Norton's their performances in these films, because I think it's one of the secrets of success is they were Hong Kong movies, but they used these American actors that just really added to the skill level of these films. Now, Golden Harvest also teamed up with this fantastic stunt. He was a director, but also choreographer of films. His name was Corey Ewing, and he did movies, also seasonal films like No Retreat, No Surrender. And also he did The Transporter. He did Yes, Madam. And he was just a phenomenal director. But it's his skill level, his fight choreography, as well as a lot of the others from Golden Harvest that has such an impact on films even to this day, such as The Matrix, the Rush Hour series, all the John Wick movies. You can trace back all their fight choreography back to these fantastic martial artists from Golden Harvest. Well, listen, uh, just think about this. All this history started with two men, Raymond Chow and Leonard Ho, when they decided to take a gamble and say, screw it, let's leave Shaw Brothers, let's start Golden Harvest, let's pay these guys more money, and let's just give these stars. They're so creative, so talented. Let's give them more creative control. And it paid off in dividends. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you can think of any of the movies I've left out, let me know and I'll keep this going. But in the meantime, please, I'll always want you to like it, share it, and of course, subscribe. Until next time, ciao.